So basically, I do these once in a month where I answer questions about building your brand online, building your brand on social media. We talk about a lot of stuff, which is why I never share the entire hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours on my Insta. I always share clips from it. So anytime there are some new questions which I think more people might be interested in, then I share it on my IGTV. But because there are a lot of people who keep dropping in and saying hi, and I'm like, hi, and I don't want to waste time in the sense that, people who are looking at the video later on, I don't want them to be like, "Arey, ye kya hai? Har 5 minute mein hi." So I don't share the entire video. I don't do too many lives because I always think that A, I don't have the time. B, do people really have the time to sit and watch you talk for an hour on like a random weekday? I know people are locked up and stuff, but even so, wouldn't you? And I do 1 minute, 3 minute snippets of particular questions and answers later on my IGTV. So I'm like, I get enough content for a month whenever I do these. So I don't see why I need to do it every week. A lot of people do that. What is the most underrated way of growing on Twitter? Twitter growth, like any other platform, the platform has been around for so long now. People who joined early had the early mover advantage. I remember the days when it was, you could pretty much talk to anybody, other people who were there, you could just tweet at them and they would respond, and because it was still a small platform and it was not at all political. Now it has become extremely political. There's a lot of, news that's happening, etc. on Twitter. So I think now getting your voice heard, unless you are screaming, is kind of hard on Twitter. But I think on Twitter, the most, not just underrated, I think the best thing to do is to actually talk with other people. So if you follow people that you like, right, they talk about things that you enjoy, for example, or there are topics that you are interested in, and they write a tweet, then engage with them to actually respond to their tweets and add something of value. For example, like recently there's an author who I follow. I can't remember who it was. They're not a book author, but they write like a blog and they write opinion pieces, etc. And they tweeted about how curiosity is an important human element or human aspect. So I looked at that, I thought that was interesting, and I thought that, but curiosity can also be, you're curious, but it could be pointless, right? What are you going to do with all the stuff that you find out or you learn, right? I think I'm a learner, I'm a lifelong learner. It's a great way to live, to always be learning. But I was like, at what point is it okay to learn stuff that's useless, right? Because I was like, there are so many things I know which I have no real use in my life. So I thought, hey, instead of just thinking this, why don't I actually write back to him? So I had to sit and think for a minute before I typed it out, and then I typed it out and I sent it to him, and he actually responded, and he sent me a paper that somebody wrote in 1939 about the uselessness or usefulness of information and curiosity, etc. And it was quite an interesting paper, which I then ended up reading aloud. And I uploaded the audio file to my podcast, and it was just weird. I thought that was quite cool, because otherwise why would the author ever respond to me? So I think in that sense, if you can actually write things to people that make sense, which further the discussion that they are trying to have, that is the best long-term way of, growing on Twitter, I suppose. Your ideas for growing on Instagram. You keep publishing your work. It's going to sound really, cliched now, but you have to keep publishing your work, and you have to present yourself on the platform as a professional. Again, it depends on what you're trying to do on the platform, whether it is Instagram or any other platform. Now, Instagram, you have to remember, is visuals, right? So you have photographs, you have videos. They have so many ways of, they've got Reels now, they've got IGTV, they had Boomerang. There's so many ways of doing this, and these are all ways of presenting yourself to your audience. So growth it's like life, right? It takes time. The problem nowadays is that we all get a lot of FOMO. So we look at a lot of other people's work and their pages, and we think, oh my God, I need to do so much more to have so many more followers. And growth is associated with the number of followers, which is a terrible way of looking at it. In your life, Do you look at growth as having, you grow when you have multiple relationships or partners? No, you have one partner and you grow with them, right? Not that there's anything wrong with having multiple partners either, but there is consistency. There is, you have to develop your style. You have to do something in real life, really, because this whole, I think it's a trend where people wear clothes and shoes and take pictures and post on Instagram, and it's a short-lived trend. We don't realize it's short-lived because we think, oh, we live for 70 years, that's such a long time, but the planet has been around for millions of years, and 70 years is like a blip. So it doesn't really matter in the large scheme of things. Find something that you believe in, and you will have people who will follow you because they will see that. Like my tribe, for example, is not very large compared to a lot of other influencers or even international photographers, for example. And you have to also understand what country you're based in. For example, a lot of entertainment videos do really well on Reels. People are doing comedy skits, people are singing songs, they're dancing, etc. But that doesn't fit with my brand. So I will not do those. I might try them to see what it looks like and whether I want to do more of that, which is a totally different business model then. You need a script writer, you need blah, blah, blah. So it's the same advice which applies. Post consistently. If somebody leaves a comment, respond professionally. Don't forget that Instagram is work also at the end of the day. Or if you're just using it for entertainment and scrolling, then you're not really growing your own page, etc. It's all about fast results on every platform, and people are like, oh, how can I get 10,000 followers? अरे ऐसे कहाँ से आते हैं यार 10,000 followers? मतलब time लगता है. काम करोगे, 5 customers मिलेंगे. I always tell people that please focus on your actual goal of doing business and making money, right? Survival, thriving, you want peace of mind, you want to sleep better at night. Those are the things we should be aspiring to. I mean, it's nice to aspire to bling and glamour, I guess, but that shouldn't be your primary goal. Everybody wants followers ki abhi chahiye. Nahi aate hain aise abhi, unless then you buy bot followers and then it looks like you have like 100,000 followers, which is also a way to do it. I don't recommend it. I have never recommended it, but to each their own. How important is existence of a brand on Twitter? If it is related to marketing, struggling to grow and keep up on Twitter. That is true. Twitter is a tough platform now, mainly because, like I said, it's full of politics, it's full of, negativity. Twitter, I think, is more relevant for people who are journalists, authors, doctors, professionals in that sense. But as an entrepreneur or even someone who has a personal brand, right, you should have a Twitter profile. And what you can do is that in the bio on Twitter, you can obviously write whatever your bio is, and then you can give a link to your website or a link to your LinkedIn profile or a link to your Instagram profile, because wherever your network is the largest, I think it is better to invest time where your network is already growing instead of putting too much time and investment on a platform where your growth is minimal. So it's best to have a handle on a place like Twitter, for example. Then you have a bio, and then you can have a tweet that explains what you do, 280 characters, have a photo or a video, and pin that on the top of your Twitter profile, so that if anybody does find you on Twitter, like if they Google you, they want to see your Twitter profile, they do come to your Twitter profile, and then they can go to the other networks where you're actually more active. Check it once in a day. If there are people that you follow that you think are relevant for you and your growth, maybe interact with them once in a day, see what times they're on, put on a reminder or something, chat with them for 15 minutes and then leave. It's not really that much of an investment because Twitter is not really a visual platform. Like on Instagram, you need to put in a lot of effort, but there's also a lot of growth then on Instagram. Even though reach and growth on Instagram have slowed down like insane, it's really bad. Even then, Instagram is one of the fastest growing platforms for someone who is not really into video. I think if you're doing purely video, then I think TikTok would probably work best for you. So it's not, you must have a page on the top 5 or 10 biggest social media networks, but you don't need to invest or focus on networks that are not doing well for you. Because if you're not getting any sales from there, you're not getting any engagement from there, then have a page, go there maybe twice a week, and that's it. Don't waste your time there. I don't think it's a good idea in the long run to do that. I am gearing up to launch a brand. We've been in the B2B world. The company has about 20 years of credibility. coming up with a new brand and want to create awareness. Yeah, that's it's whether it's an old brand that's been around or it's a new brand, the rules are pretty much the same. You would follow those rules even if you were not on social media, right? If you have 20 years of credibility, then that's a fantastic added bonus, because then what you can do is that to the people who've already been your customers for 20 years, you can introduce them to the brand a little more personally, and you can have that okay, by the way, I'm from A that you're so familiar with. Now I'm also launching B, and I think you might be interested in. Thank you for being part of our journey. Here is a new journey that we're beginning now. Now, in terms of all the other things, you need to have a nice name, I guess. Logo, I don't think is that important when you begin with, but it can be a good talking point. It can be an interesting way to introduce your brand and your ethos behind the brand. And again, it depends on what it is, what the product or the service is, whether if it's a visual product or a service. Actually, any product or service, you have to be on Instagram these days. And then on Instagram, you start introducing first on your personal profile, and you talk about it, what this new thing is all about. And then you just take off. I mean, whatever new products you have, you constantly keep introducing those. See, you have to remember on Instagram, you might feel like your feed has, like for example, if you go to my Insta feed right now, okay, you'll see the top 9 are all about my Bhojpatra brooches or this t-shirt. That's all there is on that. Now to you, it might feel like, oh my god, zyada nahi ho raha hai, everything is about the brooch, everything is about the t-shirt. But for people who actually view my posts, they're not constantly going to my feed to look at my posts. They are seeing my posts in their news feed, for example. So they will see the Bhojpatra post and then next, right? And after another day, they'll see another Bhojpatra post which looks slightly different. So that's how you create awareness, right? You can also use Instagram ads or promotions depending on what the product is. For example, I keep talking about how my brooches don't really do well in ads, because I think it's an extremely niche product in a market like India where people don't really buy art. They appreciate it, but they don't really spend money on what is art. So it's a very niche product, and it is a bit of a creative challenge to actually do ads for a brooch that people will click on. Because if I just show a brooch, if I just say this without any context, it's just there on a page, it's a photograph. Nobody knows what it is. Why are they going to click on it and then go and read more, right? So that I've done videos also where you can see that I'm putting a brooch on. I've used videos for ads and all, but then it doesn't work because again, ads are typically for a very consumer mass market kind of thing, where people will look at, me and my hair and be like, ye kya hai? It looks weird. Doesn't really fit with their sense of, normalcy, I suppose. So you really have to see what will work in that sense. The game is about, posting about your services, talking about them, bringing the founder onto the page, the founder saying hello, showing behind the scenes. That's pretty much the same thing that everybody does, because people want to know what is behind the brand. It's not just about mindless shopping. There are a lot of people who now want to consume less. So they're a lot more careful about where they put their money. So how do you make them care about you and care about your brand? You have to be authentic, obviously. It's not, you can't lie to them, you can't, claim things that are not true, for example. So those are some of the things that you need to look at in terms of integrity and authenticity. Is it possible to grow from 400 to 1000 in 2 days, 30 posts? Anything is possible if you have the money, I suppose. I mean, I could just buy some bots and grow from what I have right now, 53,000 to 150,000 in a day, no? If I have the money, then I can spend, no problem. Again, I keep repeating this and I will keep repeating it till I die. Goal kya hai? What is the goal? If it is just about followers, the much easier way of getting followers by bots. ये क्या है मतलब 30 पोस्ट मतलब क्या कैलकुलेशन क्या है ये ठीक है मतलब आप ऑन ग्राउंड क्या काम कर रहे हो और रियल लाइफ में क्या कर रहे हो और फिर रियल लाइफ में जब आप वो करते हो तो दिखता है लाइक माय फ्रेंड्स हैव बीन यूजिंग गोल क्या है इन देयर पर्सनल रिलेशनशिप्स हाउ डू यू कम्युनिकेट विद समबडी if you're having a fight with somebody, what is the end goal of your screaming and shouting? You're trying to resolve a problem, right? So will you resolve a problem by screaming and shouting? No. So then what's the goal here? If the goal is to resolve the problem, then you will not scream and shout. I'm telling you, that thing works for everything, whether it's work, whether it's relationships, whether it is small decisions, large decisions. It really works. I was thinking I should do a goal kya hai t-shirt also. I think I'm going to do that. If nothing else, I will only wear it because I only need daily reminders. Fitness market is growing, but the prices are falling sharply. I would like to know how someone can stick to their price and still survive in the competitive market. Okay, Priyanka, this is not a problem specific to the fitness market. This is true for everything and everybody. You have to decide your pricing based on your cost of doing business. Your pricing, to some extent, yes, is affected by your competitors and other products in the market, yes, to some extent, but it is also affected by what it is that you need to make a profit, earn a living, maintain your lifestyle and things like that. And it's a combination of a bunch of things. Prices are falling ka kya matlab hai? I'm sure there are still people in the fitness market whose prices are not below the average. They're probably above the average. Why are they able to do it? If you're delivering a good quality product and you are able to show consistent clients, if you have client testimonials, then these are some of the things that can help you keep your prices above average. And remember this, there's always going to be someone who will do it cheaper. Always. If you are willing to do it for free, there are people who will pay the customer to come to them. So there is rock bottom is always lower than the existing rock bottom. Kabhi kam nahi hota hai wo. There'll always be somebody who will do it for cheaper or for free. You have to decide where you stand, what are the prices that your business can sustain on. Like for example, when I launched my brooches, people were like, oh, 3,000 का क्यों है? ये तो 300 रुपए का बिकना चाहिए. चाहिए का क्या मतलब होता है? Right? Who decides? I decide the value or the worth of my time. Right? How long does it take for me to actually create a brooch? What is the cost of the actual raw material? The raw material ka cost is way above 300. Just the raw materials without anything on the brooch. So I know those things. My customer or someone who might be a prospective customer doesn't understand those things. I have to decide where I need to set the price. Now obviously I shouldn't price myself out of the market also. I have brooches that are 7,000, 8,000 rupees also, because the effort that has gone into them is much more. Now those brooches don't sell as much, but they still sell. It's because the people who buy those brooches, they understand the value of the art and the craftsmanship, etc., and they want to wear that brooch. So you have to find different tiers of customers like that. There'll be some who will be patrons of art, for example, in my brooch cases. And then there'll be somebody who will be like, my Bhojpatra brooches are 3,000, 3,700 because those are numbered. There's no certificate of authenticity. And you can buy 10 in a go. People want to give it out as gifts or return gifts at a wedding. And these days weddings are smaller. So you have to find different product categories to make it work for you. You can't just have one product and you'll be like, oh no, I need to lower my rates because it's not selling. Have different product categories, and I think that should... How do you protect your work in this world of copyright infringement? Oh boy, that's like putting my head in the hornet's nest. Okay, see, you can't. That is the honest truth. You can't. It's like, how many locks can you put on your apartment to save it from thieves? जिसको चोरी करनी है वो चोरी करेगा, चाहे आपने एक ताला लगाया हो चाहे आपने 10 ताले लगाया हो, right? Even if you have a spy cam outside your door and you've got a video feed, they'll come in, they'll cover their face and whatever. There's so many ways of doing it. I think over the years what I have started doing is that I've stopped looking. I've stopped looking at who is misusing my images, because that's not my job. My job is to shoot, is to produce beautiful images, is to produce beautiful art. And at some point, if I have the mind space to actually hire a lawyer to look at all this stuff and send cease and desist notices, which also I have done, by the way, then the lawyer can handle that. But that is not my primary job. My primary job is not to sit and be like, "Arey, किसने चोरी किया? किसने चोरी किया? किसने चोरी किया?" No, I want to sleep at night peacefully. जिसने चोरी किया है, अब मैं क्या करूं? I can on Instagram, for example, sometimes, people who recognize my work, they'll send me a DM and they'll be like, oh, by the way, this I saw this post. And I'll go to that post and I don't say anything to them, because there's no point talking to somebody who's already stolen your work, whether they understand copyright or they don't. That is not my problem. I just report it to Instagram and Instagram removes that image, and that is 1 strike against their profile. 3 strikes is usually when Instagram, does shadow banning and all that stuff, is what I've heard. So on Instagram and Facebook, that is one thing that you can do. I remember there was somebody who was using my, I'd done a experimental pop socket long time ago. I think yahi tha wo. And I had posted a really pretty image of this on my Instagram and on my blog. And this person was using that image to sell their own pop sockets. Right? This product is not even available with them. And I don't know how I came across that. And it wasn't an Instagram post, so I couldn't report it to Instagram. But and it took some digging, but I found their WhatsApp number. And then I messaged them, and I basically at the end of the messages wrote, I hope your business burns down. And they wrote back to me and saying, how could you wish something like this on somebody's business? I haven't even done anything wrong. And I'd already blocked them, but I could see those messages coming in, so they couldn't see that I had seen them. But the point is, ho gaya abhi kya? What am I going to do? I don't have the time, nor do I have the resources. My focus is on developing more work, creating more work, and sleeping peacefully at night. If there is a very egregious misuse where someone's maybe using my prints and selling their products or something, then of course you can involve a lawyer. And I do have lawyer friends who helped me in the past with cease and desist notices. Otherwise, everyone's like, "अरे ये photo तो Google पे मिला था." तो जब आपको बेसिक नॉलेज ही नहीं है तो मैं क्या कर सकती हूँ? अभी आपको पिटाई करके तो कोई सिखा नहीं सकता. सीख लो अपने आप जाके, नहीं सीखना तो मरो, मतलब whatever. Are you still active on Clubhouse? Is it still a platform to watch out for? I have a profile on Clubhouse, but the first week when it actually launched for Android, I was on it for 7 days, for 7-8 hours every day. And it was fantastic. It was so much fun. There was so much energy. It was like crazy. But then I went to Spiti for a vacation. We were out for I think 15 days. And once I came back, I was like, oh my God, I need to get back on Clubhouse. And I got back on Clubhouse and it was shit. It was shit. And I was like, okay, how could it be so bad? So then I went to another room and my God, it was shit. And then I went to another room and I was like, okay, wait, what is going on? What has happened is that it has been co-opted into, people are doing weird stuff on there. I'm not saying it's totally shit. There are rooms that you can be part of and that you could learn from. But I have heard of horror stories where people went into rooms that were supposed to be safe, where women were sharing their stories of trauma, for example, and some asshole actually recorded those audios and then posted that audio somewhere else. So even though Clubhouse says that you're not supposed to record, but there's nobody stopping you from recording it, right? So my whole point, I came back to my question of goal kya hai? What was my goal of being on Clubhouse? Now initially I was on Clubhouse because I wanted to A, discover the platform, B, I definitely needed to have a page on there with my handle, etc. My handle on Clubhouse is my Chaos Philos label, this one, the art label. And my goal was to explore the platform. And now I do rooms there when, if I'm invited to a panel and people want to ask me questions, then I go on there, of course. But I haven't hosted a room there because I do these here once in a month. And I much prefer this platform. I am able to record this video. I am able to cut out snippets and then repost them on my Instagram later on. I'm able to put those snippets together and, so I make a lot of content when I'm doing this. On Clubhouse, it's just, if I have to talk to somebody, I'll just call them up and I will talk to them. I just feel like, and there are a lot of people who participate in rooms just for the heck of it. If there is a question or a topic of the room, and if it is a particular question, they'll actually go to Google and they'll type it out and then they'll just vomit that answer there. So there's no way of telling, how genuine the other person is. Not that video mein pata chalta hai if somebody is genuine or not. But I find that it becomes this thing that's in the background. I think I take it a lot more seriously if I'm doing a video, for example. If I'm recording my podcast, then it's very specific. I will, put down points and I will actually just talk on those talking points. On Clubhouse, people talk over each other. become this thing where, I mean, I'm not on it. So really, I don't know. I think it took off, and there's a lot of nonsense that goes on there, and a lot of people want nonsense and entertainment and things like that, which is fine. That's on my goal. So it really depends on what you're trying to do. Are you hiring? I am not. I never have. And honestly, I never want to. But you never know. I don't even know what I would do with somebody if I had them. Like, I think I'd pull out my own hair, then I'd pull out their hair, then I would probably shoot them in the head. I don't know. What am I going to do with somebody else? I can barely handle my own self. I do 99% of my processing only in Lightroom. I don't go to Photoshop. The reasons I open Photoshop is if I'm doing a shoot for a client that has a person in it, for example, and I need to touch up their skin a little bit, like they've got a big fat pimple, for example, and that needs to be gotten rid of, then I will open Photoshop. For example, my Spiti landscape photos, I opened maybe 3 photos in Photoshop because the lens was dirty, so I had to like do those dots in Photoshop, which also you can do in Lightroom, but I find it much easier in Photoshop. But I barely use Photoshop now. When you are hired as a photographer, do you hire assistants? I mostly feel I can do the work alone on set, and hiring will slow down my work, but clients, you know, they just want to see a crowd. I have tried to hire assistants precisely twice, and both times, including the backup assistant I had on just in case the first one didn't show up, nobody arrived. They refused to take my calls, and then I did the shoot on my own anyway. And you know, I've done shoots for clients where when they got a new agency the next time, they, the agency asked the client how big my team was because they saw the photographs I'd produced for them for their last show. And the client was like, no, she shoots alone. They're like, yeah, but like, what about assistants and all? They're like, no, she shoots alone. And that agency was like, she does the work of 5 people. So I charge also 5 people ka paisa. So, you know, yeah, I don't need an assistant. I mean, the kind of shoots that I do, for example, I don't need an assistant, genuinely. I'm a fly on the wall kind of photographer. I do documentary type stuff and I make it look a little glamorous. What is the poor assistant going to do anyway? Once I had to shoot for like a really well-known and well-respected celebrity for a magazine cover. So I was really, really nervous. So I took my partner with me as my assistant. He basically did nothing. He was just there for moral support. So that's about it. हाँ तो जरूरत नहीं है तो क्या जरूरत है clients तो क्या चाहिए clients को यार. I remember in my early days as a photographer, some of my acquaintances were like, oh, why don't you buy a Apple laptop, get a Mac. And I'm like, किस लिए? I have a Windows laptop. And they're like, no, but client will see Mac, so they'll pay you more. And I'm like, if the client is so stupid, I don't want to work for them, baba. And they were like, okay, welcome to the real world then, because they're all like this. And that's not true. It really isn't true. You just need to connect with them on a different level and, be upfront, be a professional, do your job, do it once and then they'll know what it is that you're talking about. So, aisa nahi hai ki, clients want a crowd. Not really. You have to understand what is the underlying need there for the client. The client is looking for someone to be grateful, right? You can do that job. You can be like, oh, the way you behave, if you had 3 people, how would they talk to the client? What are the things that they would do for the client? You do those things. So you can figure out what is their base need there. It's not just about having too many people or having too much equipment. Some people, yes, enjoy that. Good. There are times when one doesn't feel inspired and feels that so much is happening around. How does someone get inspired and get back on track? Well, there is always a lot going around. Stay away from social media for a bit maybe. Decide that you will, get online for X number of hours a day and try to reduce those. Don't keep going online at all random times of the day, for example. Stop looking at the news. Really, if you stop doing these 2 things, you will suddenly feel like, "Arey, kuch hui nahi raha." So right now, for example, I get my gossip from literally one person. There's a very close friend of mine, and him and I We get on the phone for maybe once in 2 days, sometimes every day, and that is the only source of news that I have. I don't look at news anywhere. I don't own a television. And you know, people will tell you, oh, go for a walk, read a book, etc. Sure, these are all kind of solutions, yes, but we are so used to so much distraction these days, and it can feel like, oh my god, everyone's doing so many things, and it feels like I'm not doing anything. And even I feel that. And my friends tell me that you already do so much. How can you feel that you're not doing enough? But the thing is, you get to see the cream of the cream online. You see the 100 best people in India, for example, who are producing fantastic work, right? You want to follow the best, but you can't compete with that. Those are 100 people. You are just one person. So you can produce output that one person can produce. So, and news देख के क्या होगा? अच्छा, कोरोना वायरस है, हाँ मालूम है कोरोना वायरस है, वैक्सीन लगवाओ, घर पे बैठो, थोड़ा बहुत जो काम करना है मास्क लगा के काम करो. That's it. Focus. What's your goal every day when you wake up? When I wake up in the morning, my goal is to drink coffee, sit in the balcony and look at the top of the buildings around me, look at trees, etc. That's my goal in the morning. Uske baad I'm like, okay, now what? Okay, then I'll go brush my teeth. Okay, now what? Okay, now I'll do this. So, and suddenly before I know it, it's like, oh, it's 7 in the evening, it's time to make dinner. Maybe I'll watch something on Netflix. That's it. Out. Social media, news. Avoid. Someone recently sent me a DM asking me for shooting them for free. They wanted a portfolio photo shoot. I don't mean to disrespect you in any manner, but I don't have any investment to make on myself. Well, I would like to tell you, good morning, that you are disrespecting yourself, not me, by not having any investment to make on yourself. And you clearly have investment to make on yourself. You're just not willing to pay me and invest in me. And I have respect for myself, so I will invest in myself by not. Yeah. I would like to share one incident where one of my friends did a marketing strategy pitch. The person took away all the good points, didn't pay, and disappeared. How would you like to reflect on it? 100% advance? Charge for your time, because that's all that you have that is not possible to get back. Please charge for your time. Do not give away shit for free. You know, unless you have a relationship with somebody and, you know, they have hired you earlier, they know you and you would like to offer them something free, then it's fine. But don't, yeah. I mean, I don't even know what a pitch is. I have always had a problem with, for example, how ad agencies work, where they have to pitch to clients for business, where they have to take an idea of an ad and actually pitch that to clients. And I'm like, you're just giving away that ad idea to the client. But that's how ad agencies run, and that is why I refuse to work with them. You have to take a stand and make a call and be like, nee, these are the things that I don't do. And, you know, if you work with a lot of companies abroad, they pay you for pitching. Have you ever heard of that in India? So there is a pitch cost that people charge, whether you're a photographer or a marketing agent or whatever. You charge for a pitch. And then if they don't want it, then it's pretty clearly written in the contract that they will never get to use it. And you get paid for the pitch any which ways. And obviously in advance. Sorry. There's no way around it.